Well, hello and welcome back. It's time for day 11 of 12 out of 12 days of anime, and today I'm gonna talk about another anime of this season, and that is actually A Sister Is All You Need. Now, I know a bunch of people have done like first impression videos, Chibi included, and he had his own opinions about it, and I thought I would give my sort of take on this. I'm not really gonna give you a first impression, but I'm gonna give my thoughts on this anime and how it appeals to me, because I personally like this anime a lot. And I mean, this could be because I don't typically watch slice of life anime, because I really don't, you know. I'm a shonen freak, like that's just who I am. I gravitate towards fighting themed animes a lot, but every now and then, you know, I have this moment where I want something different, and A Sister's All You Need definitely provided me with that different type of series. Going into this show, I didn't really know anything about it. I didn't really know what it was gonna be about. I just saw the cover, I saw the fact that it was actually on Crunchyroll, so I was like, alright, I'll give this a shot, despite the fact that, you know, the name in itself kind of gives you the vibes that, okay, it's gonna be something weird. You know, if it's called A Sister's All You Need, you know there's gonna be some sister related ecchi stuff going on, right? Like that's kind of the idea you're getting when you're just reading the title. It doesn't really have that sort of feel to it when you watch the anime. I mean, the name sounds worse than the anime actually is. The first scene, however, is very scary in that regard. Like, you have this moment where you see a naked girl, supposedly underage, on top of the main character. Well, you think it's the main character, but in reality it's just the main character having some fantasy. The whole anime does not revolve around that sort of level at all. Like, there's nothing like that. Well, there are a few scenes that are kind of like that, but barely, not on that level. So the anime is basically about a writer, a novelist, as they call it, I think, who has a sister complex, a little sister complex to be more specific. He doesn't have a little sister, and, you know, that's why he has this sort of fixation with little sisters, and the only way he can really get into that more in depth is by writing stories where a little sister always has to be involved. You know, no matter what it is, there has to be a little sister element in that story. And he has an editor, you know, he's not really that fond of his story necessarily, and whenever the editor is fine with the story, you know, he doesn't really finish his volumes in time, and his editor kind of has to nag him a bit, you know, you need to finish the next volume before the deadline and all of that. So this anime kind of gives us some insight on the life of a writer or a novelist, I guess, on more than just one level, because we have his friends. Well, he has two friends who are also novelists, and then he has another friend who's not really a novelist. She just went to school with him, basically, so she's a really good friend of his. And what really intrigues me about this story is how we get some insight on more than just one aspect of being a writer. You know, you have this whole, oh, you gotta keep to the deadline part. You have this problem with creativity as well, because sometimes they struggle to keep on writing because they just don't have the inspiration or motivation to just continue on time. You know, sometimes you just have a writer's block and you just cannot think of how am I gonna continue this story, especially with this guy who has this really interesting fixation with the little sisters. Later on in the story, you have his friend who's also a novelist. His story is apparently getting an anime adaptation, and, you know, he's hoping it's gonna be amazing. You know, they're all hyped to see what it's gonna be, and it turns out to be as complete garbage, and he feels down, you know. So it does give a lot of different aspects of being a writer and having your work being adapted in many different forms. You know, you have manga adaptation, you have just simple novels, you have anime adaptations going on. At the center of it all, it's just a comedy and a romance. The whole novelist theme, it's just sort of where the plot is at, you know. What they really want to bring out in this story is probably more about the whole comedy and romance. You know, every season has to have all of its romances and all of its action animes, and this is just one of the romances that you're gonna find. It has some ecchi elements going, you know, like I said at the beginning of episode 1, you have this really freaky moment. There are some more freaky moments, just not as freaky as the one at the beginning. And I really like this anime because, me personally, you know, one day I do want to be a writer, so there is obviously reasons why I prefer this anime, and I can understand why some people wouldn't. You know, this anime is definitely not for everyone, and it's definitely not the best anime out there, but I do believe this is my favorite anime of this season, because Food Wars was kind of alright. I mean, it's a good season, but it's more of a build up to something greater that's coming in the manga. So I'm gonna have to give it to A Sister's All You Need for this season, really. it's really my favorite. Not the best probably, but my favorite, for personal reasons mostly. I don't really watch that much slice of life either, which is why this probably stands out to me. You know, I'm more about shonen, seinen stuff. Like I watch Unitaisen, which is probably considered a seinen, then I watch a lot of shonen, like I watch Black Clover, I watch Food Wars, you know. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there because I don't really have much else to say about this anime, you know. I just want to give my thoughts on this anime and what I feel about it. So I'd love to know what you think about this anime, if you've seen it, in the comments. And as always, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. This has been your favorite host, Perm, and I'll see you next time.